here again, Drew and Vincent.
What's up? How's everyone doing? How's everybody's Friday doing?
How's everyone's week been? We are here today to do the second episode of the Drew and Vincent show.
Yeah, number 2. You know, there's very few things that are better than the original. You know, you got Terminator 2, Empire Strikes Back, and I can't really think of too many more.
Yeah, maybe The Godfather 2, depending on
how you feel about that. But
preferences. Yeah, but
regardless,
I'm going to argue that this won't be as good as the first episode, just because the subject matter isn't as interesting.
No, it's not. But it should be interesting for a few of you. And obviously, by the video title, you would know that we're going to discuss our thoughts on Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice.
The new movie that just came out from DC, their new film branch or whatever they're going to call it. It's kind of their equivalent to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, in which they're going to bring in a bunch of different heroes and have them have their own movies and stuff, and then eventually they're going to come together and have like a Justice League movie. But every film is going to be interconnected, and this is kind of the first movie that's starting that mythos, or whatever you want to call it, because you had Man of Steel, but that could really act as a standalone film. They really hadn't really discussed plans for the future. But then once you introduce Batman and Wonder Woman and all the other heroes that came in this one, then you can see that this is the beginning of their cinematic universe, so to speak.
Yes, it is. All right, so I saw the film last week, and Vincent and I have not discussed it since. Vincent, for those of you that don't know, Vincent lives in California, and I live back at home in Las Vegas, Nevada. So Vincent saw it in LA, and he kind of knew my generic thoughts about it, and I don't know if we agree. I don't know what the deal is, but let's get into it. Vincent, how did you feel about Zack Snyder's Batman vs. Superman?
I mean, I'll say it up front. I enjoyed the film. I went to the theater. Right. I saw the film. I got out just like you'd expect seeing a movie, and I enjoyed it. I wasn't bored at really any point, and I just I don't know. I enjoyed my time there, so to speak. Is this a good movie though? I mean, it's okay. It's a decent movie. I mean, maybe even decent would be a little too generous. It's an average movie. You know, it's nothing spectacular. It's nothing great. But regardless, I still enjoyed my time. And that being said, though, it doesn't really beg a rewatch. I wasn't inclined after I saw this film to go see it again. I saw it, and that was it, and I at least enjoyed my time, and then I left, and that was that.
Yeah. All right. The unfortunate thing is Vincent said a couple things in there that kind of stood out for me, is that it wasn't a spectacular movie. It wasn't, those various adjectives. And the reason why I think that's unfortunate is because you have a title like Batman versus Superman, and you would expect so much more. My initial thoughts of the movie weren't too good. Yeah. I didn't hate it. I don't think that it's a horrible movie at all, but I didn't necessarily like it. I did leave the theater somewhat disappointed. Mind you, there was a lot of high points for me. A lot of high points that I really liked, that I think DC did great. A lot of that has to go with their casting. We'll get into that in a little bit. But I just feel, straight up, I felt like I saw this movie before. Now, hear me out. This is kind of, to some extent, there's a couple stretches, but I've kind of thought about it a little bit, and I really kind of thought that I've already seen this film. And when I say that, is that it reminded me a lot of Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 3.
That's not a good thing. That is not a good thing.
It's not a good thing at all. And before, you start criticizing, hear me out. So, all our videos are going to be pretty spoiler-filled. Yeah, I'm just going to be straight up. I don't know if that's going to continue on with the process of Drew and Vincent show, but
yeah, generally we're going to be talking spoilers. That's really only the way you can discuss a movie in depth, is you got to talk spoilers. So
you got to do it. So I'm going to give a couple of the points that really made me feel like it was like Spider-Man 3. So you have our hero. You have Spider-Man, you have Tobey Maguire, and then in this movie, you're introduced to Ben Affleck's Batman pretty early. So I'm going to say, for the sake of this, as I kind of spitball why I don't like why I feel like they're similar, that Batman and Spider-Man are kind of
Yeah,
synonymous.
and I'd agree because this film really introduces Batman, so a lot of the spotlight was on him because they had to
Yeah,
like set up this character, whereas Superman really wasn't in this film all that lot, and
no, he wasn't.
that was kind of a negative for me, but they had to
He
do what they had
wasn't.
to do, so
He wasn't. So I'm going to compare those two, and then I'm also going to say that Superman reminds me of Harry Osborn in that movie. The reason being is that Batman and Superman, for those of you know, they're in the Justice League. For the most part, they are allies. And then you can compare that to the friendship that Harry and Peter have. So you have these two allies that do fight. So they fight in the movie. Obviously, we'll get into that
hmm
fight.
yeah.
Quote. Later. So they fight. Then you have the introduction of just more characters, and without I'm trying to figure out everything, and forgive me for this disorganization, but I can compare Doomsday. I'm just going to spit around Doomsday to Venom. This kind of character that's really kind of shoehorned into this
hmm
movie. Towards the end of the fight, it's when both heroes, Spider-Man and the New Goblin, and Batman and Superman, they got to team up to destroy this villain. You have other villains. You have like Lex Luthor. You have Lex Luthor, and then you have the Sandman. They're kind of throughout the movie more so, and they have their times to shine. They have Lex develops Doomsday, and the Sandman is ultimately Sandman. You have various things like that, and it just made me feel like they're throwing so much at you. And that was one thing I didn't like about Spider-Man 3 is that you were just thrown so much. You were thrown Harry's relationship with Peter, and this you see vaguely Superman and Batman's relationship, even though they don't really share too many scenes prior
hmm
to the fight. They maybe have two scenes together prior to the fight. So you have that. Your shoehorned Wonder Woman, even though I loved Wonder Woman in this movie. You have Peter Parker, who's our hero, but he also has a dark side in this movie. Just kind of like how Batman, for the most part, you see Batman and he's the Dark Knight. You do like him, you do root for him though, but he is like this dark hero, not an anti-hero, but he is a darker hero. Just in his
Yeah, that's just
persona,
the
and
nature of his
that's the
character.
nature. That's the nature of his character, of course. But I couldn't help but just kind of see that. And you just have all these various things. I think the movie fell flat in the writing. I just feel like there was a lot of things, especially towards the end, that I just didn't care for. I didn't care for Batman and Superman's fight. I felt like that, you have this movie titled Batman versus Superman, and you're just kind of like, oh wow, like it's finally going to happen. You're going to see it on the big screen, and then they only fight for, not that long at all. And the
hmm
premise of how they're fighting, to save Superman's mom, is really shoehorned in there. You only find out about that a few seconds prior. They weren't going to fight prior to that.
Yeah, it
Lex pulls this ultimatum and everything, and it's like, oh, okay. Well, in that case, you could have started the story, 45 minutes ago. You could have started this fight
yeah.
45 minutes ago, because everything that you built up to this point doesn't really apply right now.
And that was a big problem because like even what they were building up with the tensions between Batman and Superman wasn't really that great because there wasn't a lot of scenes between the two before the fight. So like you could tell they were building something up, but they weren't doing it very well. And then you get to the point where it's like, oh, save Superman's mom, so you got to fight. Then it's just like, well, even that shitty buildup for all it was, like that's just thrown away now. Now
It's
it's
thrown away because it's developed through this totally different plot device. This plot device, you had no idea about this until Lex tells Superman about this 30
hmm
seconds before they start fighting. So it's just kind of like, what was the point of the buildup? With what little buildup you had, because I, off the top of my head, I can think of the Clark Kent and Bruce Wayne scene, and then I can think of one encounter they have.
yeah, they have the encounter on that boat thing or whatever.
Yeah, they have that one encounter, and then I can't think of any other scenes that they're in together prior to the fight. And so I
hmm
was kind of like, oh well, I can't believe that. And then obviously once they do start fighting, it gets to the point where Batman is going to win. And that fight for what it was still pretty cool. I just wish it
Yeah,
was more. I just wish it was
and
longer.
that was my favorite part about the fight because like going into the film, I didn't think they were gonna like show a definitive winner for who won the fight. I thought they were gonna like, oh, it's gonna end in a draw.
Yeah.
And they really did show a definitive winner. And then the best part of that fight is that the definitive winner of the fight was Batman, which is like going in, I'm more of a Batman fan than a Superman
Yeah.
fan. So
I
seeing
agree.
that was just like, all right,
It
like
was great. I really loved that. I loved everything. I loved everything about that. How the fight ends though, and how they team up was absolutely just corny. I just think that was like really, um,
hmm
that's how you're going to do that. Because they both share their mothers, the same name of their mothers, and I was like, that's
yeah.
ridiculous. I didn't like that.
It was a little much, but the thing is, going into the film, I heard that I'd heard about that, and the way people seemed to talk about it was that they, mutually realized that they had the same mother's names and decided to team up. But that was really more of a Batman realizing that Superman had the same name as his mother, and he decided to spare Superman. So it was kind of more of a commentary on Batman's character rather than both of them together.
Actual,
But it was a little much to say like like that's what's gonna stop this fight like because like
yeah,
the build up that before the whole Superman's mom plot device came in the whole build up was really geared towards getting Batman ready to fight Superman like just so they could show that once Superman had to fight Batman once he was in the position where it's like all right I gotta take this guy down then Batman was ready that he had this armor and that he had this spear and everything and that he'd be ready to take on the challenge so that build up again was kind of just thrown away. But I do like how they handled. And if I'm gonna say one positive thing about that Martha thing, one more positive thing would be like they did at least handle it somewhat good, and that like everyone seeing the film knew that Batman's mom's name was Martha. Like they made that really clear, and they had
yeah,
some scenes with him and his mom or whatever. So and some of the
fair.
nightmare scenes, which are kind of dumb, but
Yeah,
at least
yeah,
they played that in somewhat. So
yeah. Fair enough.
it still wasn't that good though. Like I'm not
I'm
saying it was
going.
good, but
I'm going to I'm going to talk more so about some of the positive things that I have for this movie, which I do have. There
hmm
definitely is some positive things. And going into that, I'm going to start with the cast. I feel like DC's casting director, whoever they may be, he or she, did a phenomenal job.
hmm
When I heard Batman was going to be played by Ben Affleck, I'm just kind of thinking, oh, Ben Affleck, like he's going to play Batman, Daredevil. I didn't really know what to think, but as promotional things started coming out, and ultimately when I saw the film, not only does he play a great Batman and a great Bruce Wayne, but damn, he looks the part. He looks
yeah, he
really good.
does.
He looks
And
great in the cowl. He looks great as Bruce Wayne, and he did a really good job. And then acting wise, and his character, it was great. I really liked it.
yeah, he was really good. And I remember thinking when he was first casted that they might have made a mistake, but then I remember thinking about it a little more. And then finally, once we got pictures of him and everything, I was like, all right, I'm ready to accept that this has the potential to be a really great performance. And I think at the end of the day, it really was. And that's one of the reasons why, at least I somewhat enjoyed this film because at least seeing him and seeing that he was really good and that he has a lot of potential for future films and maybe his own film yeah, that kind of got me excited. So I
Yeah,
like seeing Batman on the screen, regardless of what film it is. So
yeah, no, absolutely. I can agree. I can agree. Henry Cavill is Superman. I saw
that's
Man
yeah,
of
a
Steel.
bit of an older casting, but I still think it works.
Older casting. I think the unfortunate thing about it, and this also goes with Man of Steel, is that I just don't care for the writing of these stories.
Of
I
the
don't care
character, yeah,
of the character, but I will say Henry and what Henry's given, he does a good job.
he does a good job, and he looks
He
the
looks
part
the part.
again.
He looks the part.
That's really important because we'll
Um,
get to some other characters that really don't look the part.
yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. I think he looks the part, and he did great. I think Henry's great as Superman. I just wish that he was given better material. I really do, and I can't blame him for that
Yeah,
because
he
he
wasn't given a
is.
lot of material, and it's like what he had was
Yeah, what he had was very slim. It was very thin. It's really making for me, even though there is sides to the Superman, you see his compassionate side and everything.
Yeah.
So sometimes when he speaks, he just talks very like a one-dimensional character, which Superman to some extent is. And I haven't really read too many Superman comic books at all, but it was just kind of one of those things from a movie goer view. I was just kind of like, all right, like I wish
Yeah.
this guy had a little more. But that's not Henry's fault. He did great. Let's go to Wonder Woman. How do you feel about Wonder Woman?
I thought she was really, really good. And I think, um, I feel like that was one of the things where once I found out she was going to be in the movie and then I saw her in the trailer, it was something I was really questioning. I was just like, oh, really? Do they have to bring her in now? Like, it was
Yeah.
Batman versus Superman, like, that was enough, and now she's going to be in there. So, going into the film, this is one of the things where I was, prepared to take a negative stance on, but actually, after the film, like, I feel like it was one of the more positive elements of the movie
Absolutely.
because
I absolutely agree.
she was the only other member of the Justice League that was really worked in well, and even if you discuss that whole scene with the computer where they're looking at that footage or whatever of all
Yeah.
the other heroes, like hers was the only one that was at least somewhat interesting. I'd say Cyborg's was too because you kind of really didn't know what was going on there, but with
Yeah.
hers it was like you got this picture and you got this date and it's in black and white and it's just like all right, what's the story with that? And then you see a Wonder Woman's in there, it's just like oh shit, like that's pretty cool. And I think another thing that really worked in her benefit was that she had a really good theme in the movie. Like the score for her,
Yeah.
like her theme was really cool. So like when she came on screen and that theme was on, it was like, all right, I like this is cool. Like I'm ready to see her fight.
Yep, I can agree. I wholeheartedly agree. I think Wonder Woman was great. I don't know the actress's name off the top of my head, but she did a phenomenal job. She looks the part. She played the part well.
Hmm.
The I don't know if you picked up on this. But I just kind of had this weird kind of chemistry between her and Ben Affleck at some points that kind of, both onto something, but slightly maybe flirtatious thing going on. I kind of like that. I kind of thought that was cool. I definitely like seeing the both of them on screen together. Um,
Yeah,
when she's playing,
you don't see her too much with Superman, but
yeah, you don't see her too much with Superman, but pre Wonder Woman, her actually fighting and everything, she did great. She was mysterious, she was gorgeous, and she, outwit Bruce Wayne in a couple things, and then you see her fight, and when she comes into this fight, she's kicking ass. She's doing really, really
yeah,
good, and she all of it looks great. So Wonder Woman, definitely a big positive thing for me, when it comes to this film. Let's go on to the other members of the Justice League that were kind of given a little snippet.
all right. So I think the first one they showed was the Flash, which so it looked absolutely terrible. Like
Yeah,
you got this guy with like this beard or whatever and
Spear that's kind of like wearing a hood, but
hoodie,
you kind
yeah,
of
like
see this messy hair.
yeah, and he runs a little, and then he comes back or whatever. It was totally stupid. I think the casting on that one was not very good, and I'm just wondering, like, since they have the TV show and everything, why don't they just like bring him into the universe or whatever? I'm not saying bring the show into the canon because there's obviously going to be some conflicts with that, but I think it would be a better decision if they brought the TV actor
Yeah,
into and even if they don't bring the TV actor in there, because some people probably don't want to see that, then you just bring in an actor that actually like
looks the part.
looks the part or just looks better. Like I'm not
I
saying
didn't.
this guy's ugly, but like I just that's not like it was
Yeah,
it was just a weird decision that they had
it's just not.
Flash portrayed like that.
Yeah, yeah, I absolutely agree. It was one of those things where I'm just kind of looking at it and I'm like, no, like
Yeah,
I just don't like that.
I don't see where that can come from any perspective. See, with Aquaman, like I don't necessarily love the way he looks, but I can at least see what they were going for,
Yeah,
and I see like the creative process behind that and why they would pick
yeah.
that casting.
Moving on to Aquaman because I do have a couple thoughts on Aquaman. Is the casting for Aquaman makes sense.
Yeah,
I'm going to put my bias aside because I personally don't like it, only because I see something in my head that I would prefer. But keeping that opinion besides myself, I can look at the casting for Aquaman and I can agree with it. I can see him with Batman or Superman and be like, this is a good fit. They
yeah,
did well. I understand it's like, long black hair, beard, Polynesian looking guy. It makes sense. I would think, yeah, that culture is so invested in water and their islands and whatnot. And all of that mumbo jumbo. That makes sense. So I'm, no critiques there. Now I will say this. I was kind of thinking, because at first when I saw it, I was like, oh my God, that's not Aquaman. Because every time I thought of Aquaman on the big screen, I thought of the early comics, that
Hmm.
orange suit, orange, green, blue suit, Aquaman, just this blonde guy. So I was kind of thinking, I took a picture of an early Aquaman that you'll see on screen now, and then I took a picture of Fred Jones from fucking Scooby Doo, classic Hanna-Barbera Scooby Doo. I was like, if you look at them, they're the same guy. That looks a lot alike. And so then I was thinking, I was like, all right, who played Fred Jones in the live action Scooby Doo? Freddie Prinze Jr. Now, I could see him as Aquaman, but that would be the most campy looking Aquaman ever. I personally think that'd be hilarious, and I wouldn't mind seeing it, because I loved him as Fred Jones. But I would see why they wouldn't go with it. It's not that he's goofy, he's a good
Yeah,
looking guy and everything, but I just don't, they're just not going to go with that.
yeah,
And
I think
then I
with
was kind of thinking, real quick,
yeah,
I was like, all right, a blonde guy, and I was thinking, all right, you got Ben Affleck in this movie, Henry Cavill, you got these very manly looking men, all right, very, strong jawed and everything, and I was kind of thinking, who better to play Aquaman than straight up Brad Pitt. I thought of Brad Pitt in Troy. He had that long blonde hair. He was ripped, and I was like, I could see that. And that's my 2 cents about Aquaman. I think, if you're gonna have Ben Affleck playing Spider,
yeah,
that'd be a fucking
that'd be
movie.
something,
That'd
something
be something
different.
new. I'd like to see Ben Affleck and Spider-Man. But if you're gonna have Ben Affleck play Batman, why not? Why not play Brad Pitt play Aquaman? I know it
Yeah.
sounds ridiculous, but go watch Troy, go read some Aquaman, and I think he could do it. I think he would look good with the cast too. So that's my 2 cents with
See,
that.
I think their task with Aquaman is that he's kind of got the conception, and I want to call it a misconception because I don't agree with this, that he's like a very lame superhero. So like I feel like presenting him with that orange and green suit and that really campy look that we're all accustomed to,
Yeah,
yeah, people are just gonna be like, why would I want to see him in the Justice League? He's just lame. And then why would I want to see like his standalone film? Like why would I want to see a film like that? So putting him like this, make him look a little bit cooler, make him look a little bit more presentable for the screen. I think it makes sense as a decision going forward for their company, and like as a decision just for their standalone film, because there's a lot more, I guess, appeal to a look like that for like a full motion picture rather than like a cartoon that we're used to seeing an Aquaman in.
yeah,
And
no,
there's
for sure.
it will get people to the theaters for sure because they're like, all right, I've never seen Aquaman like this, like let's see how they do him.
Yeah, I definitely I agree.
Hmm.
I think he'll ultimately end up being cool. It's unfortunate that people see Aquaman as that because I personally think that's a great hero right there.
Yeah, like I love the hero.
I love the idea of Aquaman. I think Aquaman's great. You know, no complaints really. I do, I think, I would want to see something else,
Hmm.
and I would see like, I wouldn't mind seeing the orange suit. You just make it dark, make it that dark,
Yeah,
orange.
darker
That's like,
because even with Superman, like in the comic books and in the cartoons, he's drawn with brighter colors. You got like a brighter blue and
yeah,
even
you
like
got
a
those.
brighter red. But in this film, they're darker. They've got
Yeah,
that dark blue.
I can think of an Aquaman suit on the top of my head right
Yeah,
now.
and I can even
That's
see
dark. It's it's rugged
like the
kind of, but it's
scales too,
still the
like on the
scales.
orange. Yeah,
I can see it in my head right now, and I don't see why that
and
wouldn't work.
and the thing with that is like we don't know if eventually he could get into that costume. Like all we've seen so far is a few images, and we know that he'll be probably in a costume that looks like that in the next film he's going to be in. But who
Yeah,
knows, by the end of his standalone film or by the end of like a Justice League movie, he's in a more traditional Aquaman costume, because I feel like they might like bringing up, like you said, with the darker colors, that would be a good way to contrast with the whole campy thing I was talking about. And would they really pass up the chance to put Aquaman in such an iconic look? I mean, that would really
I
please the
know.
fans. So
It would please think about it. I think off the top of my head, I'm still, unfortunately, I'm still thinking of Brad Pitt. But I'm thinking of him in the suit, standing next to Superman with his red boots and cape. Think, oh, right next to Batman with his pointy ears,
Hmm.
and Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman doesn't look that bad. But
Oh,
if
she
you were to
looks
take
good.
the
Yeah.
Aquaman suit and describe and make it the way that we described it, Aquaman next to Superman and Batman is the least funny looking, if you ask me. Because you have Batman who has these pointy ears, and if you're going to go off like aesthetics alone, like Batman of course looks cool, but if you're looking at it as like a very tongue in cheek, Aquaman has the most normal looking suit. Like
Hmm.
the in comparison, he doesn't have a cape, he doesn't have all this stuff. It's just kind of something.
See, the thing I the thing I kind of didn't like about the Aquaman thing is just the video of it. Like, what were they filming? Like they're
Yeah,
filming
like
some
a
stuff
shipwreck or something.
underwater, yeah, and then like Aquaman comes up and he like kind of pushes the camera. Like I thought I knew what they were going for, trying to bring in all these characters just by like found footage, so to speak, but I feel like it really didn't work with Aquaman's. Like I feel like it was just like I thought it was a bit more clever to have flashes to be like kind of like the camera in a
Yeah, uh,
convenience store.
yeah.
Like now
No,
you see him, now you don't. But with Aquaman, I was like, all right. Like obviously they're trying to work him into this film, and they're trying a little too hard. I feel like.
yeah. Moving on, Cyborg.
All right, this one was kind of cool because this was like the coolest found footage bit, so to speak, because it was like a professor in a lab or whatever, just going through an experiment, and you don't see much of it, but you can tell it's going wrong, and you can
Yeah,
tell it's starting wrong too because he's just starting with him, and he's got a torso in the back.
yeah. It's I will say the whole found footage thing is I agreed with you, but then I kind of thought about it. They have different mediums of how they find these people for
Yeah, and
everything,
I think it's
which is
kind of
kind of
yeah,
cool.
it is kind of cool that all three of them were different. I'm just saying that Aquaman's was the least convincing to me.
I see, I see.
And even like his is more plausible than Cyborg's because Cyborg's is obviously like something
Some
straight out of a comic. Like, oh, here's this guy discussing this crazy experiment, and then
yeah,
you see like the camera and the film just going all like getting all distorted and stuff as the experiment goes wrong, but like the footage is still intact and everything, and they somehow sent it. Like,
yeah,
doesn't make
yeah.
much sense, but
Doesn't
it's
yeah? No,
still
you're right.
cool.
Yeah, I just kind of I didn't really notice, but I did notice, but I didn't notice at the same time. But I do like Wonder Woman's is just a picture.
I
Um,
like that one a lot.
yeah, so that one's my favorite. Cyborgs is what you would could think is a what's it called? A like a webcam
Yeah.
of some sort. And then you have the Flash, which is surveillance footage, and then you have Aquaman, which is some deep,
Excavation bit.
yeah, excavation, deep sea. It's kind of I kind of actually kind of like that they
Yeah,
all
and I think that they're all fitting for
for
the
what they got.
character. I mean, with the Flashes, they
Yeah,
took the most creative process in that because like, oh, where are we gonna put this guy? But if you just think of the Flash as like a normal guy, then like, oh, he's
yeah,
gonna be in a convenience store. So I
yeah.
think they all make sense
All
putting
right.
in that perspective. But with
Yeah.
Cyborg, like, I thought he looked really cool. The thing is, I haven't done much research though, so I don't know who exactly was Cyborg because I know Cyborg is supposed to be a black guy, and there was a black guy in that video, which was the professor-looking guy, and then the torso in the back looked white to me. So I don't know if Cyborg's supposed to be the white torso in the back or like the black guy is gonna end up being Cyborg.
Yeah,
And
I'm
I
not
hope
too
it's the
sure.
black guy because
Yeah.
he was really cool in that video. So
Yeah, I'm not too sure about it. I don't know if Cyborg ends up ultimately being the torso, which you do see like a robotic spine and everything coming out, but we'll have to see how that comes. Let's move on. Let's go to my two least favorite characters in this film. Lois Lane and Lex Luthor. They were my least favorite.
yeah, okay. Lois Lane. Uh, I don't have much to say, because she's
The
just
problem I have with Lois Lane is it's not even necessarily her casting. Um, it's it's that I feel like she's used as such a plot device in this film that that's her character. She has somewhat of a character, but she's constantly used as this plot device for Superman. and I just really dislike it. There's this like little moment where they tell each other how much they love each other and all this stuff, and the pacing of that point killed the scene for me, killed the tension of the scene. I
And
was like,
the problem I feel like with Lois Lane in this film is, as you said, the plot device, and it even extends to become a problem with Superman's character because you really don't see what Superman is like in this film without the context of Lois Lane. Like everything he does, like pretty much every scene he's in is
centered around
centered
her.
around her, yeah, or centered around something she said or whatever. I mean, there's probably a couple scenes you could pick out that are less like that, but for the most part, every time you see Superman, there's the shadow of Lois Lane over him. So it's kind of a big problem because, like, when I think of Superman, it's like he's a man of the people, you know, he's a hero of the people. And the Superman we get in this film is very focused on her.
Yeah, it was definitely unfortunate. So I just don't care for Lois Lane. I wouldn't like. I don't want to see her in the Justice League just solely for the fact it's like I've seen enough of her, and
Hmm.
it's like I don't even have a problem with her. More, more
And there's
so,
just not a
like
place for her in a film like that, you know?
no,
Like, how
not at
much
all.
time can we spend on her?
Yeah, not at all.
I mean, I'm not gonna say I don't like how the character, because like I think Amy Adams did a good job with the Lois Lane, and uh, you know, overall, I do like how she was taking a somewhat active role in the film. She wasn't just like like someone to get captured and someone to just be a love interest. You know, she was doing that whole legal process or whatever she was doing with the bullet. And I did enjoy that she was at least getting out there aside from what Superman was doing. But then again, she was doing that to kind of absolve Superman's guilt in a particular situation. So
Yeah,
it still was very connected to Superman. But I did at least like that she was doing some stuff on her own.
yeah, no, for sure. Lex Luthor.
Now, before we get to him, though, I don't want to change the subject, but I did look up Cyborg, and it is the black guy that's in that video. And just looking at this picture of him, like he really does look this part. Like this is a great casting. Like
Gotta look see on
yeah,
here.
you gotta see. Just look up Cyborg, Batman v Superman, and just the first image, it's like a side by side.
All right, yeah,
Like, see, like I'm excited to see that.
yeah, I like it a lot.
Hmm. All right, so now on to Lex Luthor. How'd you feel? Just overall thoughts.
I just didn't care for him.
Yeah, I just didn't like the worst part about him was the definitely the writing. I mean, I don't didn't hate Jesse Eisenberg in the role, but I would have preferred a different actor,
Yeah,
just to say that. And you know, I think he played him slightly over the top. I'm not gonna lie, but like it wasn't like his performance wasn't the problem. It was just the way this character was written. It was just a little too it's too goofy. It was too he was just weird and he was too crazy. It wasn't like he was in control, it seemed like. It just seemed too unhinged. Like you know, too much like something you'd see from the Joker, not like a Lex Luthor.
yeah, yeah. It was something else. I just, I just didn't care for the role. It was, I don't mind Lex Luthor being the reason Batman and Superman fight. I just don't care for how it was.
Yeah, and you know, I can kind of enjoy that from a certain perspective because it's like Lex Luthor's really like a puppet master. He's like engineering this situation so that he can get these two to fight, and it really goes to play like his intelligence, you know. But just I don't know the way he ended up doing it though didn't really seem too puppet master. It seemed more you know plot convenience.
Yeah, yeah. Um, yeah. I just wasn't buying it. Wasn't buying it.
And
Him.
I wish he was bald too because you know I've seen images of him online with the bald look and there's a few images with like him in the bald look and the suit and just like a glow of kryptonite in his face and I look at that and I'm just like yeah damn like there's they actually had someone that like could have done it visually like at first I didn't think he looked like Lex Luthor when he was first cast but seeing some of the
Yeah,
bald images I'm like all right they could have done something with that aesthetic he brings, and they could have written a better character for starters. And yeah, I just feel like they went wrong with him in a bunch of different places.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And it was he had a lot of focus in the film. Like he was in the film more than Superman was.
He definitely was in the film a lot. He really was. Doomsday.
There's not much to say. It was stupid
It was,
to have that character in the film. He didn't look that cool.
yeah.
His fight wasn't that great.
His fight wasn't that great. It was just, it was another one of those. Look how much shit my computer can fucking render at once. Like there was no context of the fight that really made it tense for me. When Superman died.
I see, which I was not like. I know that Doomsday kills Superman in the comics, but see, I had not heard anything about that going into the film. So when
Yeah,
he died, I was shocked. Like, I
the
was
thing is
surprised.
when he died for me, I didn't care. It
I
was
didn't. I
like
didn't care. I mean, I was just like,
that.
all
That
right,
was
he's
so unfortunate because like it's like this is Superman, and I don't care that he's dead right now.
yeah,
Um, and
and the problem with that is like I cared in the sense that I was so shocked that it happened. I was just like, wow, like I didn't know about this, and I thought like I'd heard everything about this film going in, or mostly everything. But wow, like did this really happen? And then I was thinking in the back of my head, like, well, he has to be in the Justice League movie, so this can't this can't be
yeah,
permanent. And by the end of the film, we can tell that he's not actually dead, but.
yeah. Um, Yeah, Doomsday. The less said, the better. That was just it's exactly how everybody feels about Venom in Spider-Man 3. He was in there at the last second. There should have been a whole movie just about him, and he looked dumb. So
Yeah. I think a level of my enjoyment of this film just came from the fact that I saw it like a week and a half after it came out. So I'd heard all the reviews and I'd heard that this wasn't necessarily the best film. So I went in with
low
very
expectations.
low expectations, just expecting like not even expecting anything. I didn't want to expect anything from this movie. I was going to go in to see it. And since I got a film that had a lot of strong points in it and that at least showed some promise for what's going to come ahead in the future for DC films, I at least enjoyed it on that aspect. But then there's just those other aspects that I'm just like, God, is this really the direction that DC films are going in? Like it's not as strong as I'd like it to be, but what I do see is potential. I didn't see strength necessarily. I didn't see performances that or choices or performances that really just blew me away. Maybe besides like Ben Affleck, he didn't blow me away, but he was really good. But I didn't see
Yeah,
stuff that blew me away that goes like, all right, these DC films are going to be fantastic. But I just saw little bits of things that were like, okay, this could be cool if they play it right in the future. That being said, however, judging by how they did this film, it kind of makes me a little pessimistic on if they're going to play these elements right because this film was it could have been a lot better. So,
yeah. No, I agree.
and I think it was the start of the film actually. I thought it started pretty cool, which I thought they built up the reason that Batman and Superman would fight just from the first scene better than they did in the rest of the whole film. Because I remember seeing Man of Steel and seeing all the stuff that was destroyed in that final fight and just thinking like damn, like
Yeah,
Superman really doesn't care. So then seeing that the film addressed this point of Man of Steel and then put Batman there as it happened, I was like, all right, well, if I was Batman, I'd be pissed right now if I was the type of hero that Batman is. So seeing that first scene, I was like, all right, they're going to have great reason to fight each other by the end of the film. And then, it just went downhill from that. And then they had that scene in the Middle East or wherever they were. And then I just remember watching that scene. I'm just like, what the hell am I watching?
Oh, I thought the same thing.
Why is the film spending time on a scene like this? What is this? I'm watching a DC film and I don't recognize anything that's going on the screen. It's just a bunch of random characters and random stuff going on that could be time better spent developing other characters for this universe.
I agree. I agree. Yeah, unfortunately I'm going to have to start wrapping this up as far as I'm concerned. But I'm just going to say that Batman versus Superman, there were some high points. I think the Justice League could definitely take me in, and I think it could be done really well. But other than that, as the movie itself, I didn't care for it.
Yeah, other than, some great casting choices and some overall good acting performances. I'm not going to downplay that. And
Yeah.
on a great score.
Yeah.
Had some exciting parts. It had some kind of cool introductions if you look at it from a certain perspective.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's not the greatest film, and it's definitely not very memorable.
Yeah, no, not at all. Yeah, so don't mean to end so abruptly, but I think that's going to wrap up our thoughts of Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice by Zack Snyder.
Mm-hmm. Which I think, last point, I think that guy gets way too much flack. I mean,
yeah, he does. I loved Watchmen.
I love Watchmen, and just maybe I don't agree with too much of his writing points in this. If he had something to do with the writing and the overall direction, I don't agree with some of those points. But the cinematography of the film looked great. Like, the film looked good. Just watching it. Besides the Doomsday stuff with all that CGI or whatever, but the film just looked good. So
I agree.
Yeah. So that's about all I have to say too. So.
All right. So yeah, that wraps up episode 2 of the Drew and Vincent Show.
It was a good episode. I'm glad we got to talk about this film because a lot of stuff came up just talking about it that I hadn't thought of before. So
yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, all right. We will see you all next week with another video.
We haven't really discussed what it's going to be yet, but
what it's going to be yet. But it's coming though. That's what
there will be a video out. So
there will be a video out. Tune in next week. Don't same bad time, same bad channel.
Mm-hmm.
Fridays.
Yep.
Fridays. You're going to get the Drew and Vincent Show. All right, everybody. Take care.
Take care.